What's good, y'all? You dub back here again in 2022. Let's get it. Now, this will be one of my funnest debunking videos, and honestly, explanation videos that, I thought up last night or so, and I have other videos to do, but I see this term hypergamy a lot on these YouTube streets, on these online streets. People throwing terms around as per usual, right? As usual and not understanding, including the women, right? Are you saying, wonder that hypergamy itself is a myth, it doesn't exist? Oh, pump the brakes. Of course, hypergamy exists. Psychologists have and sociologists have determined that it exists. Anthropologists, okay, it exists. But just not what people say it is. That's what the myth is. Wait, are you saying then that hypergamy is not a part of female nature? Absolutely. No, it's not. It's not a natural state of women. Just like half the stuff that's claimed about men, not a natural state of masculinity. I talk about hypermasculinity and hypomasculinity, which I may have to do breakdowns in videos later on down the line. So before I get off into the weeds, what is hypergamy? Hypergamy makes the claim, or hypergamy is the state or condition that women will go for the best social bargain that they can in the societal marketplace. Let me repeat that. Hypergamy is the condition or state of being that women will go for the best social bargain that they can in a societal state. Okay. Now let's unravel what that actually means. Hypergamy isn't natural to humanity. And what I mean by natural, if you put men and women in a state of nature, if you put men and women in basic survival, if you put men and women in a basic settlement, in a village, in a tribe, in a clan, if you put men and women, if they needed to be in a long period of time on a deserted island, on a mountain, etc., etc., or if you were in a post-apocalyptic situation, would you see hypergamy? Hell no. Hell, you don't even really see hypergamy today. Okay? You actually the time where you saw hypergamy the most would have been between the periods, at least in our accessible recollections, because it may have happened in antiquity. I'm not even going to address that because that's too far away for us to do a true determination. But I would say between the 16th century and midway through the 19th century. Some can say as late as the Victorian era, but at that point we're starting to veer off because of feminism and a few other aspects. So between that period, the 1500s to the middle of the 1800s, about a 300-year period, you actually saw hypergamy. That meaning you didn't see it in the medieval period. Antiquity is questionable. Maybe at certain points you saw it. Maybe in ancient Rome at certain points it would make sense. Ancient Greece at certain points it makes sense. Classical Greece, ancient Egypt probably most definitely with characters like Cleopatra. And I say characters because she was a whole character. Oh Lord. Anyways, so hypergamy involves multiple things, and we'll address those a little bit later. But here's why I say it doesn't exist in a state of nature and why it doesn't exist today. If you notice, a lot of women are commitment phobes. A lot of modern females are commitment phobes. Modern women are commitment phobes. They don't know how to settle down. Settle down is not settling. Settling is assuming you're at a state and you have to settle at the equal state of water. It depends on your interpretation, but settling for men. How the fuck are you settling for men? Do you even know what men bring to the table? If you want to use that term, bring to the table. Men bring a hell of a lot to the table if you're dealing with quality men. But the only reason that women are saying settling is because they're going for the easiest condition. See, men will go for the path of least resistance. Women will go for what is the easiest path. Now let's break down these concepts, shall we? Path of least resistance. let's say we'll deal with 5 levels or caliber of men. Let's say you're dealing with a dirt poor brother. I mean, the brother's economically not all there. He's not. Let's say he's not stupid. He's a hardworking man, but he's hard on his luck. He knows if we ain't talking about boys here and young men. We're talking about a man who has lived a little bit. He's got a little life experience, and there's a reason I'm using men and women so that a lot of the brothers can understand this, and some of the sisters can compare the two because a lot of women don't understand men. So a man who's dirt poor or is poor working class, right? He ain't gonna shoot for the Halle Berry, the Beyonce, the Rihanna. They ain't even in his sphere, right? Number one. So we're gonna cut that shit out right now. Them quote unquote 8, 9s, and 10, probably not even in the sphere. Them social 8, 9s, and 10s. Now maybe there's a bombshell woman in his town, city, community. Maybe he might go after. But most of the time, no. Men who are in that position already know what the game is. And it's not just resources, it's the fact that those women will garner the attention of all the men in the area. And to be honest with you, men are territorial, especially if he's looking for a wife. He ain't trying, and I'm speaking as one, and I'm not even saying whether I'm dirt poor or not, situation doesn't matter. I'm just always going to be one that I'm not trying to compete with 20 other dudes. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen for one woman. Hell no. Path of least resistance. So he's going to go for a woman relatively on his level. Now, it's not about the money, but relatively when it comes to looks, when it comes to lifestyle choices, when it comes to sexual aspects, when it comes to desire for children, when it comes to all of these aspects, right? People say that's pretty normal, it's pretty natural. Yeah, path of least resistance. Now, let's say a man who's, earning a little bit, doing relatively fine for himself, relatively, a normal dude. He's probably going to get the most average of all the women. You could say, wait, the guy who's dirt isn't? No, because guess what? He's probably tried with the most average, ain't gonna work. Because the most average is gonna want an average man. And we'll get to women's side in a second. So the average dude, again, he's not shooting. He might shoot a shot. He might play. He might even have sex with, may have had a relationship. But he's going to learn real quickly what level. See, women will let you know real quickly, as well as men. But women will let you know. They'll let you know with the quickness. If it ain't the woman you with, it's the women around her. Try a normal dude walking up with a group of women, and I don't suggest this, but just for a social experiment. We've seen that dude, regular dude, dressed regularly, just regular kind of guy, regular brother. We can all tell, and everybody in the vicinity knows. If you're at a bar at a club, he try to talk to it. That group of heckling hands will let it know that he's not acceptable. Right? Nah, homegirl. You too cute for him. Nah, he ain't on your level. Blah, 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 blah. All that fugazi, right? So he ain't even gonna try. He gonna be the most middle of the road, just the average looking woman, probably average income, just everything about her is average. They have 3, 4, 5 kids, and everything's Gucci. Now let's go on. Now we're getting into a guy who's kind of like, potentially middle class. We're talking $250,000 to $1 million in this today's world. Before it would have been different. But a guy who's probably got a white collar job, etc., etc. Guy who's got some options. But who is he actually going to settle down with? Okay, who is he actually going to marry and be in a long-term committed relationship with? It's going to be the woman that number one he knows is loyal. Pure and simple. For him, loyal. I mean, you can say from all men, loyalty is everything. But some men will. For him, you listen to guys like Kevin Samuels. He needs loyalty. He needs to know you're not going to screw him over. Okay? Because he actually has some resources that he can actually lose. As opposed to these other men who don't have much on a financial aspect. And the reason I'm going finances is because it's the easiest common denominator to understand. There's more to men than finances. But I need the brothers get where I'm coming from. Right? The caliber. In today's world, financial brackets. Understanding the psychology of the different men in the different financial brackets. So the brother's going for loyalty. He's going for a woman who's not going to screw him over. He's going for a woman that's not going to shame him socially. He's going for a woman who's going to put some kind of respect on his name if he's not a complete simp, right? He's going for a woman who probably, definitely a woman he can take around to whatever social gathering it is. So he's not going to go for the normal woman. He's definitely. Could he go for the hoe? Yes, he could. Could he go for a woman who's. Will he go for a woman who is well off? No, he won't. He won't go for the normal woman. He won't go for the well off woman. He might go for the hoe. And he might go for a woman who's from a socialite status, meaning she's from inherited money. And you can say, why would I say that, Wonder? That doesn't even make sense. What did I say about the path of least resistance? Now, the hoe, okay, I ain't talking about the one, and I'm saying the hoe in quotes, the escort, right? The professional call girl, or a woman who's been around, right? Not a complete slut, or she just been slutted out. We ain't talking about them. We ain't talking about the party girl. No. Professional call girl. Why her? She knows how to keep her damn mouth shut. He's probably done been around the block, right? For him, someone say, oh, but what about sexual purity? The majority of these men are 40 plus. Understand that. The majority of men who are well off don't make that money until they're 40 or damn near about it, right? And you can say, oh, she young. Oh, he wanted a fine young thing. And a fine young thing likely has more than a few bodies on her in today's world. Let's keep it all the way 1,000. Okay? So, professional call girl. He knows she's loyal. She knows her position in her role. And she ain't gonna keep begging for more. She just lucky to be there. And for the socialite girl, and I ain't say the one who's from high wealth. Ooh, because he's not getting her either. See, we ain't to that yet. But the socialite chick, you ever notice that these Instagram and whatnot, these it girls, the ones who deal with athletes and entertainers, that's what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. She understands that if I get with him, it'll up my cachet. It'll up where I'm at. I'll be the arm candy, and she knows how to play her role. If she ain't young, dumb, and stupid, that is. That's why some of them will get with women who 30 plus, 35 plus, because they know their roles. They know exactly what it is. But they ain't ratchet enough. Or they know how to hide their ratchetness. If you talk about the curl girl type thing. And no one will ever know. Because she knows how to pretty herself up and blah, blah, blah. Now, what goes on behind the scenes in a relationship, they may end up in divorce. But who he's settling down with is that type of chick. Okay? Path of least resistance. Like I said, professional call girl, she understands that this is her one shot on some shady shit. Right? You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance. Don't blow. So she probably not blowing that. Probably blowing him. That sex gonna be there. Boom, boom, boom. And he likes to have her around. Go back to the old west, the Wild West, and look at the prostitutes. Look at escorting today. And men will be the same because the home, he can chill with her. She did da da da. And if she's good with him, boom, he'll wife her. Or the same thing with the socialite, boom, beneficial social cachet. That's usually more like the political type marriage for lack of a better term. But yeah, there's that. Now we're going on to the people who making some real kinds of money. And with them, you're typically getting with women who come from that kind of background. Women who come from the cachet in the family. You might get with, if the homegirl is pretty as hell, she's sweet, she's kind, some hometown chick who hasn't been cityfied, who's not completely urbanized, some country girl who's got great values, he will go for her. Other than that, he's going from a woman who comes from background he does. Because why does he go with the woman? Path of least resistance. She already understands what it is and what it takes. Or he's going for the bombshell chick who has not been tainted by society, who's pure and innocent, who's very pretty, who's happy to be there. Lastly, we go for the super wealthy. Or the super rich. Theirs is an entirely different stratosphere that almost none of us in touch. They move. Some of it is very cutthroat. Some of it is very, it's a lot of political maneuvering with that. So I'm not. That's an entirely different thing, and that's where the real hypergamy actually comes in. To be honest with you, so we'll table that for now till the end of the discussion. Yeah, okay. Now for the women's side, I did all that for the men. For the women's side, let's say a girl comes from the dirt poor. See, different kind of psychology for females than it is for males. Males are thinking in a very practical sense, as you can tell, with all of that breakdown. For the female side, no. It's a lot more emotional. I've learned this in my own personal life because I've known women who did not go for the best guy for them. And I'm not even talking about economically, literally the best guy for them. Because you see, women, it's the path of the easiest. Because for women, when it comes to relationships, unless she's a good moral woman, and I mean, we're talking the best moral, and that a lot of that has to be learned. You have to deal with a wife, and you're going to have a power struggle, a power relationship. And listen, I'm not throwing shade at, because I know a lot of good women. But I'm gonna tell you this right now. There are women that I had to figure out why. There is no explanation as to why we shouldn't have been in a relationship. I'm just using myself for an example. Because we vibed, everything seemed fine with me on the male side. But for whatever she couldn't explain, but then I saw what the type of dudes that she got with. Number one, were not better looking than me. And then, like I said, I'm using myself as an example. Some of them, may have been more financially well stable, but they came with a ton of baggage that I didn't necessarily have. Some of them had kids, and some of these women said they didn't want kids. You had a woman, oh, I want kids, and then she becomes a stepmom to two kids because there's a lot more going on behind the scenes with the woman. So when I mean the easiest as opposed to the path of least resistance, women will go, the majority of women, again, I'm not talking about all women, obviously, but the majority of women will go where they're power dynamic, where they can instill power. Because for women, they rule. Their power is via proxy. It's why most women don't want to be figureheads of states. It's why most women don't want to be the heads, the CEOs of companies and things. They would rather be in managerial positions. Even if you go back to Victorian England, which is why I said hypergamy pretty much was dead already at this point. You had wives running it. Women spend 90% of the income in the house on average. Women file for divorce 80% of the time. When it comes to women, the social dynamic is about power. And I'm not saying they actively think about it, but it is. It's the power dynamic. It's where they can instill their power. So that's where you get a lot of the power struggle over finances, over child rearing, and more. Unless, like I said, she has this great moral grounding. So for the very, very poor woman, she isn't even going to entertain the very wealthy dudes. She's not. She knows where she lies. Now, if he's stupid enough to bring her in, stupid enough, oh, she's absolutely going to take advantage of it because he's an easy lick. He's a simp. And I'll get into a later video what a simp actually is. He's a simp. He's an easy lick. She knows she doesn't belong. See, women are even more aware. Men have to learn the social where society lets men know where they're socially aware, but women are from when they're born, they're told, unless they're in pure delusion, which some chicks are today, we know. But women know where they are at socially. They know. They know. How do they know? Because the way they navigate. Don't let what they say fool you. Words and actions. Words and actions, gentlemen, and any ladies watching this. Y'all know exactly where you are. You know where you rank beauty-wise. You know. Because you know the type of dudes you can attract and pull. You know the type of dudes in your proximity. The type of dudes you have in your friend group. Because believe it or not, it's not just the women in their friend group and who they associate. It's the men. It's also the men in their social group. Which is why, here's the thing. the very bottom tier women of society, we're not even just talking looks wise, but just socially, right? They won't go for the good, upstanding man, for the truly moral man. They're not going to go for him. They're not going to go for typically for the guy. Like I said, they'll use the easy lick dude, but they're not going to go for him. Who are they going for? They're going for bottom of the barrel. And what I mean bottom of the barrel morally, bottom of the barrel probably physically, bottom, and it doesn't matter how cute she is. Bottom of the barrel, um, potential financially, anywhere she can control the relationship. And again, I'm not hating on women, just general observation. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that the bottom of the barrel women aren't going to where they can control. They will live in abject poverty. They will live in impoverished lifestyles. But if she can control that household, why do you think a lot of these women end up in abusive relationships? She thought she could control it. They stayed. Oh, they stayed out of fear. No, they didn't have kids yet. No, they could have easily left. She's used to dysfunction as a norm. She thinks this is normal. So she's going to try to figure it out. As opposed to getting with a brother, he ain't going to treat her like that. Because she knows she's going to have to elevate herself. You see. Now, moving up to a woman who's relatively average, right? You heard what I say. She's going to be with an average dude. She's not going to be with a dude who's highly intelligent. No, he's going to challenge her too much. She's not going to be with a very masculine man. No, going to challenge her too much. She's not going to be with a man who makes too much. That means she would actually have to be submissive and submit to a will. Unless he's her ideal of a fantasy of a man, she's not going to do it. She's going to be with the average dude. And listen to the way that she talks. She wants to have a good job, good paying job. She wants, to be home with the kids. She wants, that nice little white picket fence, house, and da da da. No real aspirations, no real motivation. Boom. Gentlemen of means, you know not to deal with her. Gentlemen who are aspiring, you better not deal with her. The average woman is going to be that ball and chain that you hear guys. That's why guys be complaining. Oh, the old lady. That's because they're average dudes that got with an average woman who only had an average mindset and wanted nothing more, nothing less. She wants stability. Trust and believe that. Most guys, if you've lived a little while and you've dated a few women, you've met that woman who all she wants is stability. And that's all her concern is. And she will literally pass on potentially the best man for her life because this dude over here was stable. Moving on. Now, we're getting in with the abnormal chick. The abnormal chick is, she could be the artistic type. She could be a woman who's highly attractive. She could be the woman who's may do well in society. She's just an anomaly in any form of way, right? She's going to be the pickiest, not necessarily hardest to please, but she's going to be the most difficult to gauge what type of man she desires. It's going to be very, very difficult. And unless you're a very odd, eccentric man, don't even try to deal with them. The chicks who are artists, who are the kind of free spirited, the kind of, just out there in the ether. And there are some brothers like that. Y'all will get with them. Because other than that, and a lot of them will be single or they'll sleep around, but they don't settle. Just warning y'all brothers not to even try to entertain. Brothers like myself been there, Either they'll, waste your time trying to pursue them, or they'll be in and out of a relationship like a fast food restaurant. Don't even try to entertain. Now, we'll deal with, again, the socialite. You heard what I said. The socialite, she's moving for her position. She ain't trying to lose that shit. She would love to gain better, But she is the most aware because her entire capital is a social capital. Whether she's making money or not, it's irrelevant. She has to get with a dude who she can secure the bag as in a social credit. Okay, that's why you see a lot of these Instagram chicks, for example, will get with the athlete, the entertainer, the rapper, the musician, etc., because they can bolster their social ranking. She won't get with a normal guy because some of these guys aren't even making that much money, but that social credit matters to her. Those are the simplest, easiest. That's time. That's probably from antiquity, right? Then we go to. I'll go to the very moral woman. Then I'll go to hypergamy itself. So the very moral woman, she's entirely moving differently than all of these types. And you could say that there's probably other types of women, but the moral woman is looking for a good man. It doesn't matter if he's wealthy, doesn't matter if he's poor, doesn't matter if he's middle. She's not looking at the income. She's looking at his character, she's looking at his integrity, she's looking at his, you know, okay, I'll do the moral and then I'll deal with the kind of professional escort call girl because why men deal with them in a second. Well, no, that would be an entirely different video because that is the understanding the psychology of men, escort, play girl, and breaking down the different things with prostitution and more. That'll be a separate video because this video will be long enough, and that is a huge deep dive into the psychology of men and women. But anyways, so the moral woman is looking at his internal factors, which is opposite of a lot of women because men, we understand that our strength is internally. When it comes to masculinity, respect, loyalty, honor, duty, character, integrity, brotherhood, and many other things quite a few other things that I can get into. A woman is actually going for that. A woman, she can feel safe. She can feel secure. She can feel, she doesn't have to, he will protect, he will provide, he will guide, he will lead. She will actually submit to him. She's a wife. Okay. She will actually submit to that man's leadership. She will actually submit to that man's program. She will be in one accord with them. Scripture talks about the two become one. For a man will leave his father and mother and join his wife and the two become one. It's talking sexually, but it's also talking within themselves. It's a dual aspect, and it actually goes layers deeper than that. That's a woman, but again, are you that type of man? People are like, oh, I want this type of woman, but are you that type of man that she's even looking for? It's a very rare woman. You got to be a very rare man. And many of us have met those. That's why those will get with the pastors. That's why those will get with guys, and they will have beautiful relationships for 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years because she was a good woman. A woman of noble character, if you go by Proverbs chapter 31, a good woman, a wife. Okay. Now, to actual hypergamy. Some can say, whoa, you spent all this time. Yeah, I had to break down aspects of society. Most of us don't even apply to hypergamy. I don't know why folks are even saying this. Why are y'all even talking about this? Almost none of us are in that top echelon of whatever. I don't even want to be in the regard I'm about to talk about. The best social deal, the best bargain. Now, I'll deal with the false hypergamy in a second and why it fucks up the game. But the real hypergamy, you're dealing with kings, lords, ladies, court. Okay? They called it courtship in back then. Anyways, you're dealing with concubines, you're dealing with polygamous situations, you're dealing with highly affluent men and the women that they deal with. And yes, they want the best. People who come from money want to keep it in the family, want to help create generational wealth. Or people who are on that level nowadays, they've risen. They need to be with a man who needs to be on that. Not y'all chicks who just making some kind of money. No, I'm talking about actual women who, you look at your Beyoncé's, your Rihanna's, Katy Perry, etc., etc. They're not just dealing with typically average men. It's just not going to happen. And there's a reason for that. Actual hypergamy. It's a societal construct. Now, yes, they still want the power and control, but they will give up that power as long as they're with a man who they can align with the program. They got the same vision, the same mission, etc. The women will thus, in a way, submit, even if they're not necessarily a submissive woman. Okay? Now, this false hypergamy that we see today, and why it's a myth, is that women, females, really, a lot of them aren't really women, just like a lot of men are not men, they're boys, they're grown boys. You got a lot of grown boys and grown girls. A lot of, because of modern feminism, has fooled women, has deluded women, has got them into fantasy to where they don't know what the hell they want. They don't know what to look for in a man. They don't know the qualities of men. They don't understand their social ranking that I broke down earlier. They don't understand what type of man they should be dealing with. So they should be just out here. This is why, even though I disagree, I understand why arranged marriages were a thing, because the parents were looking at the best interest of the daughter, were looking at the man, like I broke down, from a very practical sense. And the women might grow to love, and the couple might grow to love each other, right? If women were put in a better, and it's about to get to that point again, where this false hypergamy, this delusion, that's why I called it a myth, because it's a delusion that the lower classes of society, because this is a classist structure, and again, I'm starting to talk that anarchist, socialist, communist talk, but it's the reality, okay? This classist structure has put men and women in categories, and things have gone all kind of out of whack. Women thinking they can get better than, no, you can't. No, you can't. If you're an average woman, be with an average man. You average by every metric of the determination. Monetarily, physically, socially, everything that you desire, an average man can do. And you're going to be average, and you only want average. You buy average, you can afford average. You in loads of debt, you average. You average in looks. Because if you weren't average, you would be around men who you knew were above average or the exceptions to the rules. Average is not bad. Average is the vast majority of people. But the delusion is princess mentality that, oh, well, I'm the exception. No, you're not. Stop it. And the women who are above average, they don't talk like this. The women who are from well off, they don't talk like this because they've been trained. They understand. They know what it is. And they ain't all out here in the streets doing what they do. They ain't all out here closing their houses and da-da-da. Living in delusion. They maneuvering. They understand what the game is. They use their youth effectively. And they secure that man and run with that man. And if it don't work, then they secure that next man. You ever notice that women who really understand the social maneuvering games, I'm not talking about hopping from dick to dick, but they're in long-term stable relationships. They know what it is. They ain't trying to be single for a long period of time. It actually goes against a woman's biology. Unless there's a few exceptions, she's a widow, she's been with a man a long period of time, etc., etc. All right, stuff we can get into later. But the point being that a lot of women are just doing things. They're just doing things. As Miss Kendra, hey, shout out to Crimson Cure, talking about living in chaos. They're just doing shit. They don't know. You ask the average woman, most women you encounter, what type of qualities, attributes, and traits you look for in a man. They can't tell you. Younger, older, doesn't matter. Because they're not thinking like that. And a lot today aren't thinking far and ahead. That's why you have so many single moms. That's why you have so many baby mamas. Piss poor selection of choices. Women select 95% of the time in, you could say, heterosexual relationships, but I'll say all relationships, because there's a lot of women who are bi and lesbian until, or they become like, again, we can get into the whole sexuality aspect, but the reality is this, all right? And then we're going to close out because I didn't want this video to be too long. The reality is this. Hypergamy is for a very specific societal condition, okay? Heard what I said, social bargaining, where a woman will give up her social power in a relationship. She realizes what it is and what it ain't, right? But in a state of nature, what would a woman do? She's going with the best man she can available. That is not hypergamy. Hypergamy revolves around 5 aspects, and we'll be done. It means you have some kind of social capital that you can actually spend. 2, It's exclusive. Believe it or not, actual hypergamous women don't just sleep around like that. Now, they may have at a certain point, but actual ones who are actually practicing hypergamy aren't, because they're exclusive, they're highly selective in the men that they deal with at that point in their life. If they're actually practicing hypergamy. See, hypergamy isn't a state to at all points in a woman's life. That's why, for example, you have the ancient Greek Roman principle of the maiden, mother, and crone. A woman isn't, this is why some of these women at different points, oh, I need a man who's stable. If she's 30 plus, oh, she done hit the wall. Yes, because she's not in the same position of her life. She should be looking at it if she has kids, or if she wants kids, or she wants to be married. She can't be acting like she's young anymore. She ain't that pretty young thing anymore. Plus, she should have a better maturity and understanding of life. She needs to have a different social maneuvering. She has responsibilities. She has bills. She can't just be moving and operating like she's 21, 23. No, she should be expected to. A woman who's 60 shouldn't be operating like she's 45. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Neither should a man, by the way. So, social credit, she's moving exclusively. She's moving with an actual purpose, and not just, oh, out here just dating. No, that's something stupid. She actually knows what type of man she wants, and she's going for that. Now, could a hypergamous woman go with a man who's not already established? Yes, if he has the potential. That's where actual going for potential works. She sees this, especially if he's a younger man. Now, if she's not older, her bar for where the hypergamy is at is going to be different. If she's younger and she sees a dude with potential, she's going to latch on. That's where you see a lot of these college marriages come from. And they build. That's why you see these women who get with these athletes and whatever at a young age. They secure that relationship because they see this man is going somewhere. Okay? It's not, they do, most of them do love him, but they see, this is the best I'm going to get, bro. Savannah James, Aisha Curry, when she wasn't just being deluded, understood. LeBron James, Steph Curry, I ain't getting better than this. And whether it was her parents or themselves, they're like, listen, I'm being with this man. I ain't gonna do better than this in my lifetime if I go with a million men. All right? And if this may be the fourth or fifth point, whatever, she is going to remain with that man. There's going to be loyalty. If the dude cheats, shoot, this is where the open relationship. If he's a certain type of dude, they will even pick the women he's with. They will say this, and this is old school. Okay? It's what hypergamy. Listen, you don't bring any outside kids, no outside diseases, no trouble to my doorstep. You do what you do out there. But the resources, whatever you bring up, I'm gonna be here with me and my kids and whatever. And maybe it's easy. She can, be your fun chick and just say I ain't got to do with it. Bill Cosby situation with his wife. Anybody? I can name a lot of this was the old school way of doing things. This is why polygamy could have been a system. And I'll do an entire video on polygamy. But understand that hypergamy is not for regular people. Regular women can't move hypergamously. You don't have the social credit. You don't have men approaching you. And the type of men you approaching you, they ain't. And you also know most of them realize which is why they will turn down dudes who are actually the best for them, because they realize they're not worth it. That's why there's all these insecurities. Because women are out of line. They just are. They've been taught to be out of line. They've been indoctrinated, brainwashed, and programmed to be out of line. Video long enough? Unexpected wonder, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me your thoughts on this subject. I hope I broke things down for you in a very relatively succinct, because this could easily be a 2-hour or more discussion. But I tried to hit all the key points on what things are and what things are not. All right. And if there's any other video suggestions on social constructs and more, let me know. We'll try to get that for you, because on this channel, we talk about all kinds of things, the obscure things, the popular things, things that are more difficult to understand. This is not a simple concept, might I add. And I learned this through my own life. I learned this through observation of other people. I learned this through understanding. I study a lot with sociology. Okay, study a lot with psychology, study a lot with philosophy, and a lot with history. So I come to my own conclusions what matters, rather than what the common narrative is. All right, y'all. Have a beautiful day, beautiful night. Peace. Be easy out there. Keep your heads up. And be wise, men. Be wise with the dealings of women you be with. And women, if you have a good man, stay with that good man. And if you have a good man who's presenting himself, do not pass that brother up, because he'll probably be the best man that's ever come to your life.